I'll explain all of that later, but I want to bring in right now Trader A co-founder Ayesha Tariq. And Ayesha, let's begin with the Federal Reserve. Where do you see Fed funds rates? Do you think they're going to continue to go higher from here?
Hi, Charles. Thank you for having me back. Yes, in fact, I do. I think we are going to see one more rate hike. So I think we end at 5.75 at the higher end of the curve.
So, I mean, that we see the CME already has moved to that number, to your point. It looks like Wall Street's already digesting that. Do you think then the way the market's reacting right now, much higher on a Friday after the Fed just said they were hawkish, does that say, okay, we're okay with one more rate hike? Let's get the party going?
So it's pretty interesting. The immediate reaction that we saw was, to the downside, right? And I would think that that would be the appropriate reaction here. So seeing it going higher on a Friday, but then if you think about it, Friday is usually options expiration. It's the end of the week, and we've historically seen the market go a bit higher on Fridays. So I think there's some of that.
Right.
And I think there's also some of the relief from, Jackson Hole being over, let's say.
I got you. And no pain. Listen, I'm an old timer. When I started on the street, the saying was never trust a Friday rally. All right. Me and Bob just talked about earnings. He's not a believer, right? I mean, we're starting to now see expectations turn considerably higher. Do you think we're in an inflection point with respect to earnings, that the earnings recession that's over, we inflect, they get better? And if so, does that give us some sort of buffer for this rally?
So I don't think we're out of an earnings recession per se. I do think that earnings might get better from here, but I think we'll see pockets of, or rather sectors, which will get better, right? And certain sectors will continue to get worse. So for example, I think certain industrials, they've been having peak earnings, and I think there's more downside to that. Whereas I think we might see a little better results from, say, healthcare, for example. So I think that it's going to be a mixed earnings season next quarter.
I want to go over a few of your ideas. We got less than 2 minutes, but I saw on your list Fortinet, FTNT. Folks, this is a stock that was annihilated, I guess, a week ago. Obviously, you think there was an overreaction to that earnings sell-off.
Absolutely. So I think it's been like this for quite a few names. We've seen a lot of names get beaten down and oversold, and I think it's an overreaction. So Fortinet is a very, very solid company. Again, in the cybersecurity space, I know I've been talking about cybersecurity a lot. My partner is an expert, so that gives me an edge over here. But I think it's a very important space. And
right.
I think going forward, this is going to be a very important part of doing business.
I saw a name on your list, too. I used to trade a lot. That was controversial at one point. MP Materials. Why do you like that?
So MP Materials is the only rare earth mining company in the United States, and I think people want to get away from the dirtier Chinese production. And so their only other option is probably, MP Materials. Plus, I think they are increasing their volumes of production. They have a relatively solid balance sheet, and things can get better from here.
One last one, 30 seconds. Option Healthcare. This is a name I'm not familiar with.
It's an interesting name. It was actually a spin-off from Walgreens, and they're basically the largest independent providers of, infusion services. And they're growing at a really good pace. So I'd say high single digit, which is really good for, a healthcare company of their sort. They also will benefit from their partnership with Crystal Biotech, which, just recently got FDA approval for gene therapy and obviously the Alzheimer's therapy as well.
All right. Ayesha, thank you very, very much. Great stuff. Always appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, folks, coming up, Jay Powell.